Userback is a great tool for web agencies who need an easy way to manage the feedback for all of their client projects in one place. And in this tutorial video, I'm going to show you how to set that up. So the first thing you want to do in Userback is to create a project. And ideally, you want to have individual projects for each of your clients. The easiest way to set up a project, if you've already got one in existence, would be to copy it. This way, you're automatically copying all of the project settings. You don't need to start from scratch. But if this is your first time using Userback, you want to come here and click Create Project. So if you give it a name, enter in the website for where you plan on collecting feedback, and done. We've just created a project. So what this means is that any feedback that's submitted through our feedback widget will be collected into this project. The next step would be to add the widget code to the website. And that's as easy as copying this code here and just adding it to every page where you plan on collecting feedback. So the Userback feedback widget, it actually works on live and local sites. So what that means for your web agencies, if you've got a staging or development host that you're designing your client website on, you can start by adding the widget code to that. So once you've added the code to the website, it basically means that all feedback is going to be collected into here. And I'll show you what that looks like soon. You might also want to turn on any notifications for yourself to make sure that you're receiving an email when feedback is being created or assigned or when new comments were added. And if you're using internal tools like Slack or Jira to manage your tasks, you can also integrate the Userback project with those as well. So now your project is ready to go. The next thing you probably want to do is to invite your colleagues to the project. So we come up to the People menu, and this is a very simple process of inviting your team. So when you invite your team, you simply add in an email address, and Userback will send them an email invitation, and it will prompt them to create their own username and password to access this account. If it's just team members you're inviting, you'll probably want to set them up as either an admin or a collaborator. And the main difference there is whether they need to have access to all the project settings. An admin user does have access, whereas collaborators, they don't. So they could simply come in and manage the feedback. So within your team, most of your designers or developers would probably just need collaborator access. But a really cool thing I want to show you here is this client access. What this means is you can actually invite your client directly into your Userback account, and they won't have access to any of your settings or anything like that. All they'll be able to do is log in and simply see the feedback that's being collected for their account. And the benefit for that is it helps them track progress. Now they might be the ones that are submitting you a whole lot of feedback, and they just want to be able to sort of stay in the loop as to how that's progressing. So you can invite your clients with this option here. And importantly, you have the option here to choose which projects that you want to have access to. Because within your agency, you've probably got lots of different clients that you're managing feedback for. And obviously, if you're inviting a client, well, you only want them to see their particular project. So that's what this does here. So we can see in this particular account, I've got 3 people that I've invited in. Myself as the owner and admin, and 2 of my colleagues, also 1 colleague who's an admin, and I've got Sue here as a client. Okay, so we now have a project all ready to go, and we've also invited our team and a client to give them access. The next step would be to actually collect some feedback. Now the easiest way for me to show you this would be to come into this other client project that I have, and I come into the feedback tab. And what I have here is 2 bits of feedback that I've submitted previously. So let's see what this looks like. So this bit of feedback is an annotated screenshot that's been submitted. And I can see here that this is the page that it was submitted on, and this is the person who submitted it. And I can see what they had to say. Now imagine this feedback has come in from my client themselves. So I've given them access to my staging site, and they're giving me feedback on the design concept. And they've asked me to change the color. What I can actually do is type a reply. And I've got the option here to email this comment back to them. So if I hit reply, that will actually send an email to this particular email address with my comment. So that's a great and a really easy way for me to collaborate directly with my client over that feedback. And I can do the same thing for whoever's submitted that feedback. It might have been a team member, for example. But suppose there's something else we want to say here, and I don't want to send that to my client. I simply don't tick that box. But if it's an internal note that I want to make just for my team, all I can do is select the team only option. And that means that only people who are logged into my account will actually have access to that. And that's how you essentially collaborate with your client or anyone who's giving you feedback over their comments. And I can even resolve that as done. So this is where the client role comes in that I mentioned earlier. By inviting your clients into the account, they can actually see here that this feedback has been resolved. They can even see who it's been assigned to, for example, just to know that it's been done, monitor the progress. Now, the other bit of feedback we have here is some video feedback. So this is a feature within Userback where it lets your clients give feedback directly from the website. There's no need to install a browser extension or anything like that. It's a really easy way for them to give highly contextual feedback. So you can see here, it's just simply using the browser's screen recording to let the user give their feedback with video and animation. Now in here, suppose this is something, a really interesting point I want to highlight. I can simply add a bookmark. And this is a great way to add a note and also collaborate with the person who's given the feedback in the same way I showed you before with comments. And I can add as many of these bookmarks as I like. The same as before, I can resolve it. And that's how the video feedback tool works. Now, if I need to further edit the feedback widget at all, I simply come into widget settings. And suppose I don't want to give them video feedback, so I simply turn that off. And perhaps I want to ask a very specific question. So I can customize the widget in that way. It's really easy to do. Okay, so that's how you set up Userback to manage the feedback for your client projects.